Hey, everybody. Welcome to an edition of ATL Prime Sports. Todd Corder here with you. JJ on the other side of Atlanta, and our producer Wayne in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Sapp will join us in about 15 minutes or so. We'll preview the Michigan versus Iowa Big Ten championship game. We're also going to preview the Southeastern Conference championship game between Georgia and Alabama shortly, and talk Atlanta Falcons football. Do they have a legitimate shot at the NFL playoffs? You can get a hold of us all on social media, all of us at ATL Prime Sports, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can get a hold of JJ at JJGetYou1, at Wayne RWY Jr., and myself at Corder Todd. Let you guys know you can like and subscribe to our podcast. Please do. You guys ever want to send us a note on Twitter or on Facebook, we'll be glad to respond to it. We appreciate all our listeners and appreciate your valuable time. Guys, how are you this evening?
Doing great. Ready for the big game. Ready for Championship Saturday.
Championship Saturday. How about that? What about you, Wayne? What's up with you?
I am getting geared up for another Atlanta Falcons win.
Geared up for an Atlanta Falcons win. All right. Well, hey, there you go. All right, let's go ahead, guys, and talk first. Let's talk the Southeastern Conference championship game, where it just means more. Number 1 Georgia versus number 3 Alabama. JJ, let's talk about this matchup. What are your keys and what do you see?
Well, my first key is going to have to be on the Alabama offensive line. Alabama's key to victory is, can they stop the front seven of Georgia? That's Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Wyatt, Walker. I can go on and on and on. That's the key. They gave up 7 sacks against Auburn last week. I mentioned 17 zero or negative yardage plays for the Alabama Crimson Tide. That can't happen. That's my first key to this game, and that's on the Alabama Crimson side of things. Is they got to pass block better, especially, and they have to run block better as well, because against Georgia you're going to have to control the clock with Georgia's big play ability. So Alabama last week, again, only 1.9 yards per carry against Auburn. That offensive line is going to have to get a push to get that offensive to open up the pass game for Bryce Young and company. That's my first big key, and that's on the Alabama side. Yeah, I got plenty of keys. We'll flip over to the other side, go to Georgia. Look, I think a big key in this game is George Pickens. Wide receiver, got his first catch of the season last week against rival Georgia Tech. Sure, it was only 1 catch for 5 yards. He tore his ACL back in March, folks. March of 2021, not March of 2020. This guy came back within a year, caught a pass in the game last week, and I think he'll be a key factor in the game this week. He can block, he can catch, and that can only help Stetson Bennett out. That's my second key to this game. The addition of wide receiver George Pickens will be just supply numerous amounts of advantages for Georgia on the offensive side of the football.
What's your last one?
Last key, it's got to be it's pretty obvious. It's got to be, what does this Georgia offensive line and what does this Georgia running game do to give Stetson Bennett time and ability to throw the football? We all know what Stetson Bennett did last time against Alabama. 2 interceptions, didn't look good. The run game didn't get going. Georgia was shut down early. So it's about getting the push, getting the play action game going, and getting that big play offense going. Because if Georgia doesn't have big plays, their offense isn't that efficient. They need to run the ball on first down, get easy second down and manageables, third and manageables, and able to hit the deep ball, hit the 20-plus yard play to loosen up that Alabama defense. And the last key for me is obviously going to be the health of Brian Robinson on the other side for Bama. Running back Brian Robinson, day-to-day, dealing with lower body injury. It sounds like it's a hamstring. Bama's down to 1 scholarship running back, Todd. 1. That's Trey Sanders, Can he handle the workload? He is a former 5-star in the 2019 recruiting class. So lots of fun storylines in this game. Todd, what's one for you, man?
Well, I'll piggyback off what you said a little bit. Georgia only allows 79 yards rushing a game. It's the best in the nation. And, and they're also the best in the nation in pass defense. They're number 2, actually, in pass defense. They're number 1 in pass efficiency. They lead the country, obviously, in total defense. They only allow about 6 points a game. So, obviously, first down will be critical for Alabama to run the football. And then you flip the script. Obviously, Georgia's going to want to run it. Can that Alabama defensive line win first down and force a team like Georgia to pass the football? Because let's face it, Georgia's not used to playing from behind. So we'll see how Georgia reacts if they do have to play from behind. Second for me in this game is turnovers. Whoever can win the turnover battle will most likely win the football game. 3, nobody ever talks about it, but it's special teams. Georgia's special teams have been outstanding this year. They've blocked punts, punt returns, kickoff returns. Field position will be critical. Alabama over the years, they've struggled in the kicking department. So, can they win that special teams battle with Georgia? Those would be my 3 keys to the game for Georgia versus Alabama. This is the year that Georgia should win this game. They should win it by double digits. A lot of pressure is on Kirby Smart. It is. He has got to get to the championship game and win it. This is the year they should win it. If they don't, you're going to wonder when. The fans, unfortunately, are going to get restless. Mark Richt was there 20 years, and it was still time for him to go. So, and they gave him plenty of opportunities. Rick didn't get Georgia to a playoff, nor did he get him to a national championship game. So, with Kirby Smart, the thing is, if they don't win it all, what are they going to do with them? I think they'd be crazy to do anything with them. I think any time a program wins 9 or 10 games a year consistently, you need to leave them alone. It's just very difficult. Today it's a lot more competitive than usual, and you just wonder. Look at Nick Saban's record against Kirby Smart. It's perfect. Look at Nick Saban's record against his other assistants. It's damn good. He finally lost a game to one of his former assistants, and that was Texas A&M's Jimbo Fisher earlier in the year. But JJ and Wayne, the pressure's on. It's all on Georgia. Alabama is playing with house money for me.
Yeah, 1-24. You nailed it on the head against his former assistants. That is Nick Saban verse. He did give up the law. He did get beat by Texas A&M on the road in a tough environment after A&M had lost 2 in a row. So A&M was going to give them their best shot. But yeah, I agree with you on the pressure is on Georgia here. But Kirby Smart says pressure is a privilege, and we'll see how they react. He talks about being elite. He talks about practicing and playing against your opponent regardless of the face of the opponent. And he talks about winning on each play independently regardless of the prior outcomes of other plays. So if Georgia goes into that, they will take care of business. They are a better team. And let's face it, I mentioned it. Brian Robinson's banged up. Alabama's banged up. They're going to miss Javis Williams. They're one of their wide receivers for the first half for a targeting penalty last week versus Alabama. So they are hurt.
Huge.
And that's a key.
Huge.
That's another key.
I totally agree with you. That is huge.
That's a huge loss for Alabama. And when you're Bryce Young, and let's face it, if last week and against Texas A&M and some of these other close games that Alabama has played in, even Tennessee was competitive for a moment there. They gave up sacks. And if that's the case, if Bryce Young is running for his life and he's not able to extend plays outside the pocket, this could be a very long night for Alabama. But again, you mentioned it, Todd, the pressure is on Kirby Smart and these Bulldogs. They haven't beaten Alabama at this venue yet. And it's just going to be a huge game. Georgia 6.5.
JJ, Atlanta's Nick Saban's town. I mean, he's undefeated in Atlanta. So,
like the Kentucky Wildcats basketball team used to call it Catlanta. Saban could call Atlanta Sabanville.
He could call it Nick Lana. So, I mean, it's just golly. I mean, this is Georgia's opportunity. A player like Jordan Davis, can they contain him? Can they contain Dean, the linebacker? I don't see it. But then again, you can't never count out Alabama. What they have done since Nick Saban has been in Alabama has been remarkable. And if Alabama loses, I don't care if it's by 1 point, 3 points, 30 points, they don't belong in the playoff.
They're out.
And you're out. Let's shift over to the Atlanta Falcons. We got about
1 second, Todd. I got a couple game notes. I do want the listeners, the viewers to know UGA has a 16-game win streak coming into the SEC championship, a win shy of tying the school record set back in 1945 to 1947. And this is the first time Bama is an underdog in 6+ years. The last time was against these Georgia Bulldogs at Sanford Stadium. Just a couple final game notes. Todd, finish her up.
Oh, thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead now that you've done the game notes. Let's go over to the Falcons game on Sunday. They're coming off a 21-14 win over Jacksonville. They actually ran the football for $150 with Patterson leading the charge at about $110, almost 7 yards a carry. Gallman did very well. He averaged almost 5 yards a carry. When I look at the Atlanta Falcons, people are saying that Matt Ryan has struggled the last 2 games. Well, yeah, he has struggled the last 2 games, but this offense has struggled all year to keep him on his back. And then to flip over to the other line of scrimmage, they only have 14 sacks all year long. They can't get to the quarterback, and they cannot keep the quarterback upright on a consistent basis. Yes, they're 5-6, but JJ, they don't feel like a 5-6 team to me. Their differential is almost bad as the Detroit Lions in terms of plus-minus giving up points. They've won the close game. That's close games this year. That's been a difference from a year ago. But,
yes.
In the rundown I saw, is this team a playoff team? No. Does it feel like a playoff team? No. Are they better than the Vikings? No. Are they better than Green Bay? No. Are they better than Dallas? No. Are they better than the Rams? No. Are they better than the 49ers? No. Are they better than Arizona? No. Are they better than Tampa Bay? No. Who they play this week? And the answer to all that question is no. They're out. I don't see them making the playoffs. I know they're only 1 game back, but this is not a playoff team to me. Wayne, you're a big Falcons fan. Your thoughts on that, then over to JJ.
Well, I think they're going to beat the boot can ears this weekend, and I think they're going to continue to win, and I do think they will make the playoffs.
God, you're such a fan. God bless you. You really got a
bless your heart, Wayne.
Heart. He's got a big heart, JJ. It's not a Dr. Seuss heart neither. It's just a big, huge heart. It probably just pulps through his chest and veins. I mean, he's definitely not the Grinch that stole the Falcons' Christmas. That would be my title. I love his heart and enthusiasm, but, I got to go with reality here, JJ. It's not a playoff team to me. What's your thoughts?
No, they're close. I think they're closer than what people would say because they have won the games that they should take care of. They do have some winnable games on their schedule. They could win the Lions game. The Saints at the end of the year is looking like a winnable game as well, especially with their quarterback issues. But the Bills, the 49ers, the Panthers, and the Bucs are going to be the tough ones. If you guys, if the Falcons can somehow win 9 games, they may get that last spot. But I think you're right, Todd. I think Arthur Smith is doing more with less, and this doesn't look like a playoff team. It looks like a competitive team that's on the breach, that's right there on the brink. Maybe a couple offensive linemen, maybe a pass rush, in the offseason, maybe this team could be something next year. But Arthur Smith is doing a lot with a little. And I'll tell you what, one of the keys to the win last week versus Jacksonville to get the Falcons back into this thing, and they were able to keep Matt Ryan upright a little bit better last week, it's because they actually substituted centers. They went with Matt Hennessy and Drew Dahlman. They rotated in at center last week. Hennessy got about 40 snaps. Dahlman got 20. They both did fairly well. Matt Ryan was okay with it. And you mentioned it. Cordell Patterson, a $108, 2 touchdowns on 16 carries. If Matt Ryan can get that from Cordell Patterson each and every week, we may be talking differently. But that's the problem. I don't think this offensive line can get the push.
When you're talking about a couple offensive linemen and a pass rush, that right there tells me right there you're not confident.
If you let me finish what I was going to say is that's what you need. You need, with Matt Ryan struggling, as we mentioned, you need Cordell Patterson to get you that 100 yards a game, to be that 150, 160 multi-purpose yards a game. That's what makes Atlanta a team when Matt Ryan's using every weapon. And if Ridley comes back, maybe that's a bonus. But again, this team does not look like a playoff team quite yet. Maybe a couple more. Maybe.
When you tell me they need a couple offensive linemen and a pass rush, that's the most important part of a football team is the offense and defensive line. It's much easier to build from the outside when you already have the inside. And this team just doesn't have it. I will say that Patterson has been a huge bright spot for Atlanta this year. You could argue that he's been the most valuable player on offense. They still don't have all their pieces back in terms of health. But this team, to me, they're just not a playoff team. I look at the schedule and I go, there's more no's on it than yes.
Correct.
Detroit, you mentioned Detroit. Well, everybody's a yes for Detroit. And you got to remember, they did play Jacksonville last week, who is 2-9. Now, I will give you one note. Jacksonville had the third best rushing defense in the NFL coming into that game, and Patterson and that O-line, did a good job. Now, is that things to come? I don't see it against Tampa Bay. They don't match up. Their O-line doesn't match up against their D-line. And, oh, by the way, the Falcons' D-line doesn't match up against the Tampa O-line.
Not at all. And you mentioned it, the schedule is pretty tough. There are some manageable games, but the ones that there's no coin flip games. It's either a win or a lose on all the games. We could go Buccaneers, probably a loss. At the Panthers, with the way Cam Newton is hit or miss, that could be your win. At 49ers, I don't see the Falcons doing it there. Versus the Lions, yes. At the Bills, in Buffalo, not in late November, not in early January, and then you end the season with the Saints. So again, very tough schedule, not a playoff team, but maybe next year with free agency, Todd.
You know what? Seeing that game in January, I don't care what their record is. I hope there's 2 feet of snow out in Buffalo, and I want to watch the Falcons manage that. That would be a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. And that basically concludes our Falcons conversation. We have Dr. Sapp coming in on the line, and Todd, I'll let you take it away.
Sapp, how you doing? I just saw the note that he's in. Dr. Sapp, a Michigan historian, and you know what? I saw at the end of the game there, Dr. Sapp archives on the end of the telecast there from the Ohio State Michigan game. Dr. Sapp, you're a pretty famous guy out there. You're a Michigan football historian, video archivist, and blogger. And I'll tell you what, when you can check him out at Dr. Sapp 4, the number 4 at U of M on Twitter, on his archives, there isn't anybody in the United States of America that has a better Twitter account than my friend Dr. Sapp when it comes to the University of Michigan football, all the history, all the videos, everything on it. I mean, you go back as far as Bob Uford for back in the 1960s. Just the stories that you have on here and everything. And I tell you what, it's an honor to have you back on. We had you on when we previewed Michigan versus Michigan State. And I know Michigan lost the game. Hopefully that's not a preview to the Iowa game. But I don't believe in jinxes, so welcome, Dr. Sapp, to the show. It's really an honor to have you on again. You got a great Twitter account, my friend.
I appreciate that introduction, Todd. Yeah, it was a big deal to be there on ESPN Game Day. They reached out to me last week looking for some old Jim Harbaugh stuff. And, yeah, like you said, my archives actually, Todd, go back to 1904. Michigan played Chicago. The Thomas Edison Company came up to Ann Arbor. I don't know if you all know, but Thomas Edison was a big Michigan football fan. He'd make the trip from Detroit to Ann Arbor. And so for that big game against Chicago, he asked one of his photographers, one of his video guys, if you can believe it, to come and shoot some video. So they shot 6 minutes of film. Sorry, not video. But so, yeah, that's even in the U.S. Library of Congress. I've got that film. And the cool thing is you can even see a touchdown score by Willie Heston. So one of these days I'm going to have to sort of slow that down and fix the speed and put it out there for you all to see. But, yeah, it was cool to be on game day. That was a big one for sure.
Yeah, my fault on that. I might have said at the end of the game. I meant at the end of game day. I just didn't add the word day at the end of the sentence. Speaking of day, Ron Day and the Buckeyes did not have a good day on Saturday. That Michigan offensive line, wow, Bo Schembechler had to be doing somersaults in heaven watching that offense and defensive line just manhandle Ohio State. I got to give the Buckeyes credit and their outstanding quarterback, C.J. Stroud, for hanging in there and making the game really respectable and close. I mean, he threw for almost 400 yards, yet they had trouble offensively with no running game. And Henderson and Dr. Sapp, before we preview the Iowa-Michigan game, this Big Ten championship game, this performance was something, I mean, I've been waiting for since 2007. I think this Michigan's best game since 2007 when they played Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer in Florida, and Lloyd Carr's last game.
Yeah, you might be right on that. I got to tell you, when I looked at the way Ohio State was built and how they were winning games early in the season, it reminded me, in hockey, I played a lot of hockey growing up. You're either a finesse team or you're a physical team. You like to hit the body. You like to take the body. And it seemed like Ohio State early on wanted to win the ball by throwing the football, wanted to win the game by throwing the football. And they didn't want to sort of, mix it up. And you can see that Harbaugh was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to punch you in the mouth. But the question was, could you catch them to punch you in the mouth? And that was the whole Mike McDonald change of defensive philosophy from Don Brown. He wanted to go, two safeties deep, right, play cowboy defense, zone defense, keep everything in front of you. And, yeah, to that point, hit them when you could, right? But to your point, they were so talented they could still throw the ball for an ungodly amount. They were still in the game late in the fourth quarter. But it was joyous to see. I'm not going to lie to you. You didn't win on a fluke. You didn't win because of the weather. You didn't win it because of a controversial call. You kicked them. You kicked them hard. And every Michigan fan, I'm telling you, they're still smiling. We're still smiling right now, dude. I mean, you got to get over it. You got Iowa staring you in the face. But that didn't get much sweeter than that, dude, I tell you.
I tell you what, it was Jim Brandstatter's last Michigan-Ohio State game. And from what I understand, it was Dan Deerdorf's last game as a color commentator. Brandstatter's been doing this for about 40 years. And, of course, he played under Bo Schembechler. And also so did Deerdorf, who happened to be on Bo Schembechler's who happened to play for Bo in Bo's first year at Michigan in '69 when they upset Ohio State after getting manhandled in '68 when they asked Woody why he went for two, he said, because I couldn't go for three. So Deerdorf's last game and Brandstatter's last Michigan-Ohio State game, wow, what a thrill for them in the booth. And I just kept thinking of Ufer, how he would have called it at the end of the game with the win, And Dr. Sapp, I'm going to let you answer that question. Give me how Bob Uford would have called the end of that game in your mind.
Well, before we go there, I did talk to Brandstetter earlier this week, and I congratulated him on a wonderful call. Like you said, yeah, this is their swan song. They're done after this year, and they were there, in '69. And I told him, I said, this is like 1969 version 2.0. But I got to tell you, if Uber was around, he would say, like that clip that I put on Twitter, last week, I don't want you to ever forget today. You're never going to forget Saturday. You will never forget. As a Michigan fan, like I said, this is your 1969. For those fans that were too young to remember '69 and how shockingly euphoric that upset was, this is the same thing, right? This is number 2 Ohio State. They had won, 23 conference games in a row? Just like in '69, they had won 22 straight games. Did you see it coming? Maybe, but not like that. Not like that.
No, Ryan Day was 23-0 in the Big Ten coming into that game as a head coach. That is remarkable in itself, and I have to give him a lot of credit. He gave Michigan a lot of credit in his post-game press conference. I remember the year ago he wanted to hang a 100 comment on them, and they didn't get to play the game because of COVID and everything else. So, this was a long time coming for Michigan and Ohio State. And I just want everybody to know, again, you can go to his Twitter account, Dr. Sapp for U of M, and check this all out because it is absolutely outstanding. And one thing before JJ asks you a question here, and then we'll get to the preview. Oxford Strong, hashtag Michigan Strong. Everybody knows what happened there at Oxford High School earlier in the week, and the Wolverines are going to wear a patch that says TM42 with 4 hearts on it. It'll be above the Big Ten patch, stitched in on their jersey for Saturday's game, and that is a class thing. And the Wolverines will be wearing white, so I'm assuming that Iowa's the designated home team. They'll be wearing black. It says here on there, we are proud to represent the state of Michigan and all of its communities. You live in the area. Can you, A, talk about what that patch means, and 2, the mood in that area has to be just absolutely awful and sad and somber, and our thoughts and prayers go to all the folks in that area, Dr. Sapp.
I got to tell you, Todd, that hits a little too close to home, man. From the area close by, got friends in the area. It's tough, man. It's senseless. It's not cool. It's not right, man, to be that young. Hopefully it puts things in perspective. But I just saw something from the Michigan State, Senate. This lady, she was talking inside the Senate. She's like, how many times does this have to happen? It's been 22 years since Columbine. And that's shocking to me. 22 years. So, yeah, it's cool that they're going to wear the patch. They're connected to the community and all of that. But the bigger picture is, the bigger message here, you got to do something to protect the kids. You just have to. I mean, I went to school. I didn't worry about things like that. Yeah, did we have, Todd, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, we actually did bomb threats, because we were worried about the Russians bombing us. So we had to hide underneath our desks. And that's the closest thing that I can think of.
Yep.
But nothing like this.
The closest thing I can think of, too. I'm 57, and yes, we didn't have these problems like there are today. And a lot of it has to do with, to me, the biggest issue is the mental health part about it. That 2 hours before, the kid had just met with the administration at the school before it happened, and there was a paper trail, and it seems like there wasn't enough done to prevent this. But I live here in Georgia. That's my view on it from being far away. I'm betting Michigan State will do something too. They're not playing football this Saturday. But I can see the Spartans and Tom Izzo doing something special on the basketball side, and I definitely see Juwan Howard in Michigan doing something special too. Dr. Sapp, my thoughts and prayers are to everyone in the southeastern area of Michigan. I have family in the southeastern part of the state, and it was so traumatic and so not necessary. And I just want to say God bless you and all the folks in that area. And let's go back to talking football. Hang on, JJ, I know you got a question. Actually, go ahead, JJ. I'm sorry I can't see you today. I'm not on video because I haven't been feeling well. Go ahead and ask Dr. Sapp a question. I'm sorry. Thanks for waiting, friend.
Yeah, I'll reset. You're listening to Dr. Sapp right here on ATL Prime Sports. You can find Dr. Sapp at Dr. Sapp, the number 4 UM on Twitter. Dr. Sapp, it's good to have you back on after a historic win. Michigan and Iowa, now it's the Big Ten Championship. They've met in some historical matchups before. Give us one of your best memories, as Dr. Sapp Archive would do, from one of these games, and then give us a breakdown of the Big Ten Championship, only the way you could do it, Dr. Sapp.
Well, I got to tell you, the 1985 game where pitted number 1 versus number 2, right, that doesn't happen every year in college football. So when it happens and it's your team and it's right there in your backyard, I got to tell you, the hype was big back then. And, you had Harbaugh, who was the quarterback, right? And Jamie Morris, the running back. It was a titanic game. You got Larry Station on defense for Iowa, Chuck Long, the quarterback. I mean, it was a great matchup. A lot of talent on both sides. And, it comes down to the very end, right? And Michigan had a chance to end the game. Chuck Long he basically threw a pick six that was dropped, and that would have ended it right there. But, of course, it was dropped, and they kicked the winning field goal. Some exciting plays in there. Michigan got the short end of the stick there on the 12-10 decision. But that was a big game. I mean, that was one of the biggest Michigan-Iowa games. There's been a few more recently, right, back in 2016. But I think this is going to be a great matchup, right? Whenever you have a championship game, especially with an Iowa team, I get it, right? Norm Parker is not coaching that defense anymore, but it's still a solid defense. You can see that. They've got a good line. They've got good corners. Michigan's going to have to play a very good game. Will they have to play their best game? They might have to. I mean, Iowa saw what happened, and I was kind of banking on, you know what? Michigan's still a little hungover. Michigan's still kind of looking at themselves in the mirror a little bit like, hey, look what we did. And I don't think they have that attitude in Ann Arbor. I think it's a different team, like Cade McNamara says. There is a different mindset and a different attitude on that team. I heard Andrew Vastardis today on Rich Eisen. He basically said he's never been around a group of guys that are all about each other and helping to prop up the guy next to you or your teammate next to you. That's a team with a lot of love. And that goes, that sounds kind of corny, but I'm telling you, when you have a tight-knit team like that, anything is possible. And when you think about it, if they win this Saturday against Iowa, truly anything is possible because now you're in the dance. Now you're in the Final Four, and then, gosh, anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and you're correct, Dr. Sapp. As a former high school football player myself, when a team is very close, you go very far. My team, my junior year, we lost in the state championship here in Georgia by 3 points to Lowndes County in an epic game. That was the closest I've ever had any high school football team. We won it all my freshman year, but that team was closer. So I beg to differ. That is a true statement. More true words could not have been said. Well said, Dr. Sapp.
Yeah, no, thank you. I played a lot of sports as well, player, coach, administrator. It does make a difference. You can have all the talent in the world. You can have great coaching and this and that, but you take it to another level when you have a team that believes in each other, trusts each other, and loves each other. And I know that's kind of an odd word to say in sports, but it really does make a difference.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Dr. Sapp, to me, the key to this game is honestly it's going to be whose will is going to do it, because whose want to, as they say here in the South, is going to come out. These teams are real similar. They want to run the football, and they want to stop the run. So, who's going to be able to throw the football on third and long, and for me is one, and the second one obviously is first down. Which team is going to football game. One other thing, Michigan special teams, they've been outstanding this year, and it's the best I've seen. Golly, I'm going to say since 97. Honestly, since 97. I think it's the best special teams they've had. The field goal kicking, the punting unit. It's been NFL Sunday punter and kicker for me. What are your keys?
No, I'm with you there, right? Special teams, like you said, everybody in Michigan was kind of worried when Jay Harbaugh took over for special teams. They're kind of like, what does he know about special teams? But to your point, they've been spot on. No complaints there whatsoever. I do want to throw out an interesting stat that I've kind of been sort of watching over the last few years. It's not always 100% true, but typically, listen to this now, typically the first team to kick a field goal loses. And I know it's going to be odd when you hear that, but what you're actually doing now in this proliferation of points and the way the game is being officiated and the rules are all, slanted to the offense, it's about scoring touchdowns. And the moment you kick a field goal, you just left 4 points on the field. And guess what? Ohio State kicked 2 field goals, and they kicked the first field goal last week. I'm not saying that's why they lost, but it's an interesting stat to recognize that as soon as you settle for a field goal and you lose almost like serve in tennis, you start falling behind. And to that point, Todd, I truly think the team that scores first right now in these type sort of playoff games, you have such a huge advantage because you're playing in front and you're not playing from behind and you're not playing catch up and you're not squeezing the ball too hard and worrying about, I got to convert this third down. I got to get a touchdown to hold serve because if I don't, now I'm 2 scores behind. And now I have to come out of my game plan. And now I can't keep running the ball because guess what? Now I'm 17 points behind. And now I got to throw the ball. So that's why I really think last week when Michigan played Ohio State, when Ohio State didn't want the ball and Michigan gladly took it, that was huge in my opinion. Same thing this weekend with Iowa. You got to score first, and you have to establish your offense because you're right, Todd. These are almost like mirror images of each other. And I truly think the team that scores first, much like in playoff hockey, it's going to be a big, big advantage.
Well, the start and the pace is always critical, and you mentioned it. That's what Coach Day said for Ohio State that they wanted to run the football. Their intention was to run the football, but they didn't run the football because they got caught up in the moment and got behind and pressed and started catching up and got away from the running game of their game plan. And to top that, when Ohio State took the ball in the second half on Saturday and ran 3 plays and it went 3 and out, I said right there, Michigan's going to win this football game. Had the Buckeyes went down and scored to start the second half, I don't know what would happen, but it could have been different. Who knows, but it wasn't. One last question, and this is, I don't know if you saw this on my Twitter account, but my man Aiden Hutchinson's going to win the Heisman. This is how I got it figured out. I want your response to this. Stroud's not playing. K9 and Michigan State's not playing. Corral of Ole Miss is not playing. The quarterback Pickett of Pitt is playing, but they're playing Wake Forest. He could put up big numbers, so he would have a chance. Alabama's quarterback is playing Bryce Young, but I think Georgia's going to eat his lunch, and he's not going to have a good day. Alabama's linebacker Anderson will have a good game, but his team is not going to win. So that leaves to me Aiden Hutchinson and the Heisman Trophy, and I think he'll have a spectacular game against Iowa. Get after the quarterback and be the first offender since 97, since Charles Woodson at Michigan won it, and they went on to the national championship. Your thoughts on that analysis?
Well, I think you might be onto something. I just hope it's not a little too late type thing. Remember now, they have until Monday to send in their ballot. So hopefully a lot of the voters haven't already cast their ballot. They're waiting to see, to your point, what happens this weekend with Alabama and Georgia, what happens with this weekend with Michigan and Iowa. Do these guys step up and really play the game of their life? And to your point, no one's, trending higher right now than Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he is a beast. We had heard it the last couple of years. He's going to be another Bosa. He's going to be another Bosa. It never happened, right? Injury, this and that. and you're kind of thinking, when is it going to happen? Boom. It's happened in a bigger way than I think anybody expected. Is he the dominant player? He kind of is right now. He is making a splash on defense, and that doesn't happen very often, as you said, Todd. For a defender to have that kind of impact and to get that notoriety, but he is changing games. He made that left tackle for Ohio State, who is projected to be the #1 tackle in the draft this year, made him look like a freshman. He put him on skates, and that's just amazing to see.
I'm sorry, JJ. I left out Davis, the defensive tackle at Georgia. Spectacular, a player who I can't talk enough about, Jordan Davis. But the DTs don't get the stats that the DNs do. So I didn't mean to leave him out, but that's how I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to win it. Dr. Sapp, thanks so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate you coming on. And if Michigan wins again and they get in the playoff, I'm going to have you back on. Will you come on?
Let's do it again. Go Blue.
All right. Hail to the victors. All right. That's Dr. Sapp. You can catch him on Twitter. Check out his incredible Twitter account, Dr. Sapp for U of M. JJ and Wayne, I really enjoyed the interview with him. He's got some spectacular archives. You saw it at the end of game day. I meant game day. I just didn't use the word day at the end. And we can check it out. Hopefully we'll see his archives again on game day this week, and we can say, hey, that was our guest on ATL Prime Sports. Guys, that'll do it. A great show. Wayne, thanks for producing. JJ, thanks for your patience during the interview. I really appreciate it. Let you guys know next Monday live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll have Patty Parks Rooney on of the Rebel Walk. She writes a lot of articles regarding Ole Miss football. We'll have her on at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on Blog Talk Radio. You can listen two ways, blogtalkradio.com or 1347. What's the phone number? 1437. I'm forgetting the Blog Talk phone number, JJ.
You can listen live on blogtalkradio.com. Yeah. You're going to have to put / Mancini Sports or you won't get anywhere. You can dial in at 1347-205-9631. That's Monday at 6 to 6:30 for TC. For Wayne, our fabulous producer in Memphis, Tennessee, I'm JJ Jurjevich. Major League Baseball, come on, figure it out. I want to defend the crown as a World Series champion. Fix it, MLB.
Fix it, no doubt. 1347-205-9631. I got a brain cramp on that, JJ. Thanks, and we'll talk about that next week just to let everyone know. We will definitely talk about Major League Baseball and its lockout, and we'll get into that too. All right, everybody, have a great week. Talk to you Monday live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great weekend and enjoy the college football, everybody.
Get you one. Go Dogs.